Hey, it's Pastor Aaron here. I'm so glad that you're joining us this Passion Week as we look at the last week of Jesus's life and really get some devotionals to help move us from where we are to where God's called us to be. We're going to take this day and we're going to go back a few years to the early days of Jesus's ministry. You see, his ministry, most of the preaching and teaching and healing of the sick didn't happen in the big cities. It happened right here in this hill country called Galilee. It's an area around the Sea of Galilee, all these small little towns where Jesus based his ministry out of. And the word about Jesus spread everywhere so quick that this miracle worker, this guy that's multiplying food, was teaching things that were revolutionary. And so what he would do is these crowds would follow him, and the only place that could fit them all is on these hills. And so he would gather on these hills, and thousands of people would show up. And what would he talk to them about? He would talk to them about something that he would put into practice years later as he was betrayed, beaten, and nailed to the cross. He talked to them about forgiveness. You see, Jesus was very clear that as a disciple of him, that here's what you're going to experience. You're going to experience persecution. People are going to say things that are false against you. They're going to have evil against you. Jesus was very clear. He taught this in what's called the Sermon on the Mount. And as Jesus taught them this, he said, here's what you need to do about this. When people do things against you, when they hurt you, when they abuse you, here's what you do. He says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 25, he says, settle matters quickly. He tells us that the solution for when people do things that are wrong against you is you settle them quickly. I think if you were honest today, there's people that have hurt you. They've abused you, they've neglected you, and you've held on to that unforgiveness. Here's my challenge for you this Passion Week, is practice what Jesus did on the cross. He taught it 3 years ago on the Sermon on the Mount, and then he put it into practice on the cross. And he said right there, as they were beating him, as they were crucifying him, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He practiced what he preached. What did he preach? He settled the matter quickly. He didn't wait for them to ask for forgiveness. He didn't wait for them to change. No, he forgave them on the spot. And I think today there's some people in your life that you need to forgive. Don't go into this Easter holding on to offense, unforgiveness, bitterness. Why don't you release it to the Lord today? Forgive them and move on to the potential and greatness that God has for your life. Christians have no right to live offended and with unforgiveness. Our example is Jesus. He taught it here in Galilee. He practiced it on the cross. Jesus forgave, and so should you.